Okay, so hello everyone. I'm going to start the second part of this lecture one from where we have left off. So in this particular lecture, we will start with the topic expressions. Okay, so what the expression is? An expression is some combination of literals, variables, and operators. So expression is a combination of literals, variables, and operators. For example, if you see here, so here in this first one, if you can see, let me take this. So this is what is known as a literal. 1 5 is the literal. This is plus sign is this is the operator. Okay, again we have operator over here. Okay, so in this particular we have literals and operators. If you see in the second example, we have this variables also, variables, then this we have operator, then again variables, then operator. Okay, here we have literals. Okay, the third one, we have here this operator, this literals, then we have operator. This is the nothing but the relational operator, correct? Okay. Similarly, we have here this Boolean operator like not. Sorry, logical operator. Not is the logical operator. Okay. So expression is nothing but the combination of literals, variables, and operators. Each expression, so if you see here in this particular, each expression whatever is written over here, it returns this expression evaluates to some value. Okay, if you run this code in the Python, so of course this xyz have some values, then we are going to have return with some final values, and this value has a type. Okay, and this value has a type. In the web example, if you see here, the first two values, like if you run 1 plus 5 division 5 exponential 0. So here we are going to get a value right here. So in the first two example, this example and this example, you see here we are getting the float value. 6 and 6.5 is the float value. While the next two expression like this one and this one, this two returns the bool value. Okay. So here 2 is greater than false, 4. This is false. 1 is less than 10, true. False and true, false. Similarly here, not true is false, false and false, false. Okay. So all these expressions are result into a final. This last two returns into a bool type, and the first two returns to a float type. Now we will try to see what are the different types of expressions that we have in the Python language. So we have arithmetic expression. And here you see, so this 1.0 is nothing but the float value. So 1 plus 2 is nothing but 3, right? But if you see the type of this, it will return the float value. Again here, if you have done the subtraction, one is the float value, other is the int value. Again, we are going to get float value. Okay. So similarly here, we are going to get the float value. So if one of the things is a float value, the final type that the program is going to return is the float. And this is what is written over here. All the operations results in the float. So here in all this expression, the final value is the float type. From this, what we can see is float is more dominant than int, irrespective of the operator involved. So here we have addition operator, subtraction operator, division operator, exponential operator, and one of the type is float over here. And just because of that, the whole result is dominated to a float value, irrespective of the operator involved. Whether you are going to use modulus, division, float division, ultimately the final data type will be the float value. The second type of expression is the Boolean expression. So expression that involves a relational operator will result in a bool. So the expressions that I have already discussed, what is the expression? And if the expression involves a relational operator, then it will finally result into a bool value. Let us see over here. So here you see this greater than symbol, it is nothing but a relational operator. So 2 greater than 1, of course, it is true, but what is the type? It will return true. And what is the true? True is nothing but a Boolean value. Okay. So expression that involve logical operator will naturally result in a bool. And if there is an expression which involve logical operator like and or not, so finally that will be resulted into a bool value. So true and false will be false. What is the type of false? It is nothing but a Boolean value. Okay, so in the arithmetic expression, you have seen, depending upon what data type we have, if it has this float value, then irrespective of the operator, the final will be the float value. And if we have this relation operator, then the type will be bool, the final result. And if the expression is having the logical operator, then naturally the result will be the Boolean value. Now, we have seen the arithmetic expression, right? And it involves several, you can say, operator. Now, the question is, in what order the evaluation is going to be performed by the Python? So when an expression have different operators, the interpreter has to make a decision about the way the expression is going to parenthesize. In other words, it has to decide which has to be calculated first, which has to be given the preference. So that is nothing but which operator takes precedence over the others. Okay, so for example, if you see here, I have written an expression over here for. So if you simply run this command for float division 2 minus 1, then finally how this interpreter is going to calculate the value for this. So it will do like this. So 4 division 2, this is 2 minus 1, this is equal to 1. But this can be done in this way also, but here the result is 4. So which one it should choose? So in order to define this in a very systematic way, this arithmetic, Python has some order of precedence, and this is depicted in this table over here. So if you see, so yeah, so this starts from higher over here. So the top, the table, the operator has the higher precedence. As we move down, the precedence is decreasing. So the first priority is this exponential operator. This, which is all the values within the same cell, is the having the same level of precedence. Okay, so unary plus or unary minus. Then we have this multiplication, division, float division, and modulus operator. And then we have plus and minus. So here, which is written in the same cell, so you can perform it. So they have the same precedence level. Now the question comes here, how this be evaluated over here? So 4 float division 2 minus 1. I have only written this much. 4 float division 2 minus 1. So here you see this float division has higher precedence over minus because it is coming at the top of this minus. Okay, so here then the first this is going to be evaluated, so that is nothing but 2. Then the minus will be evaluated like this. 2 minus 1 is equal to 1. So this is the wrong. This way the Python will not work. Okay, so this is the way how it's going to evaluate. So it's going to parenthesize like this, not like this, because of this order of precedence. If you simply write this expression, it will be parenthesized like this, not like this. Next, precedence in Boolean expression. So we have seen the precedence in the order of precedence in the arithmetic expression. Now we are going to see what sort of precedence we follow in this Boolean expression. So similar to arithmetic operators, logical operators also have precedence. And one more thing, precedence Boolean expressions are going to be evaluated from left to right. In addition to this order of precedence, this Boolean expression also follow that it has to be evaluated from left to right. So these are the operators like logical operators, not, and, or. Okay, so not will be given the higher preference, then and, then or. Okay, so if in an expression the not and comes at both, then we should first evaluate the not and then or. And also from left to right. So this is written, Boolean expressions are also going to be evaluated from left to right. So it is going to be evaluated from left to right. So we will see one example so that the things will be clear. Okay, so here you see. So the condition is not will be given preference over and. Okay, So that we have seen from the table of precedence. And also the things is to be evaluated from like this, from left to right. So first this will be evaluated, not true is false, false and false is false. Okay. So this can be done in two ways, like not true and false, and like this also. But as I've told you, this should be evaluated first. So this is to be followed by this is the correct way. And this is not the way to follow. Okay, this is the way which is followed by the Python. First evaluate not, and not true is false, false and false is false. Okay. So clearly the interpreter is following the first parenthesis, and this one is followed by the interpreter. This is in accordance with the precedence rule for logical operator that we have discussed in the previous slide. And the evaluation is order is from left to right. So from here to here. So again, true or false and. So here you see two operators are there, logical operators, or and. So which has to be followed? We have seen not and or. So first we should evaluate this, and should be evaluated first, right? So there are two ways, true or false and false, true or false and false. So you can pause the video and think of. So as I told you, this and should be given preference. So this is to be going to be parenthesized like this. Okay. And then is to be calculated from here to here. Okay. So true or false and false is false, true or false is true. So I think this is the correct one, right? So according to the precedence rule, and has greater precedence over than or, right? So the second way is the one followed by the Python. This one is correct. Okay, because and has to be calculated first. So it will parenthesize like this, and then true or false. So false and false is false, true or false is true. Okay. Next is short circuit evaluation. So here the very important things that will come into picture, and you should keep these things in mind. So execute the following expression. We know that true or false is true, right? If any of the condition is true, between true or false, when you are going to give this expression true or false, then if any of the condition is true, it will be written true. But here you check 1 by 0, division by 0 is not allowed. Okay, we know that in mathematics 1 by 0 is not allowed. So this gives 0 division error. So Python immediately tells that it is a 0 division error. So division by 0 is not allowed, that we have seen over here. And the interpreter promptly hits back with an error message. So here you see it hits the error message, right? That division by 0 is not allowed. But surprisingly, if you see here, this is statement, true or 1 by 0. But if you run this, it will return true. Why? Because the moment this cell is going to run, the moment it is going to see true, it is not going to check the second condition. It will return true because it is or is in between. So true or this, right? So the Python will check the first. If it is, since it is true, it will return true. It is not going to check the next condition. So this type of problem is known as a short circuit evaluation. So you have to be careful. So the expression is evaluated from left to right. So this evaluation is going to be evaluated from left to right. The operator is or. Here the operator is or. Since the operand on the left is true, since this one is true, the whole expression will evaluate true irrespective of the operator on the right. So irrespective what we have on the right, it is going to be evaluated true, because in or we need only one true, right? So the expression is going to be evaluated from left to right, and since first is true, so it doesn't matter whether the second is true or false, right? It's not going to check. So it has evaluated true. So the interpreter skips evaluating the operand on the right. This behavior is called as short circuit evaluation. And we have to keep these things in mind. Next, we will talk about the errors. So observe the following code. Print. So here we are going to learn the types of error and that the Python throws when we are going to have some mistakes in the code. Print 1, 2, 3, 4. So here, of course, we have missed one quotes over here. So what is this? This is nothing but the syntax error. You are making a syntax error in the code. So it will return end of line. EOL is nothing but the end of line while scanning string literal. So end of line, it doesn't found. That's why it returns like this. So when you see an error message like this, it indicates that the Python interpreter reached the end of a line while scanning a string literal, but didn't find the closing code for the string. So here, the Python starts from here, it starts with the code, it run through like that, but it doesn't find an end code, right? Just because closing code. And when you run this symbol is points to the exact location in the code where the code error occurs. So here you see this is pointing over here. So it's saying that here we have made a mistake. Okay, so this type of things will become handy when you are going to run the code, so you can exactly know where you are going to you are making the mistakes in your code. And this is nothing but the syntax error. We are making a mistakes in syntax. Okay, so going back to the code. So when you see here, it tells us the problem is here. So we will go back to the code. The ending code is missing, and we can now fix it like this. So we print 234, and then it prints 234. Now it is correct. Now, what is debugging? So many of the times you have heard this word debugging in the programming industry. Okay. So among software professionals, error in the code are often known as the bugs. So there is this bugs are nothing but a simple error. So error in the codes are often referred as bugs. The process of identifying and resolving these bugs in the code is known as the debugging. Okay. So error in the code is known as the bug. Okay. So this is some fancy words. And the process of identifying and resolving this bug is known as the debugging. And what are the different steps in this debugging process? Let's have a look into that. So the first step is execute this code and see how it behaves. So first step in the process is the execution. So you have to execute and see how the code behaves. Detection. Next is the interpreter or compiler identifies error in the code and report them to the coder. In the previous example, we have seen, we have run it, and it has found the mistake on the end closing codes were missing, and it identifies the location, and then we went back and fix it out. So the second step is detection. So the interpreter will throw an error and report them to the coder. Now the third part is analysis. The coder analyzes the error message to understand what went wrong and why the code failed. In the previous example, we have seen the syntax error, and we find that one parenthesis, one quote is missing, and we went back and fixed it up. So you have to analyze the error. So it has given the syntax error, so you have to analyze where the syntax error is coming from, and you have to see that. Okay. And finally, the correction. So once you finalize this, where the error is and what actually the error is, you have to fix it up and you have to update. Now the coder closes the loop by running the code again. So once you fix it up, and you have to run it again. If after fixing the code again, if the error is coming, you have to follow these 4 steps again and again. By the time your code runs successfully. Now let us see some exceptions. We now move to a different set of error. These are no longer syntax error. Okay. So these are the exceptions, and these are not the syntax error. Remember, these are not the syntax error. So there is nothing wrong in the syntax, but just because of certain exceptions, this error is coming like this 1 by 0. So this is not the 0, this is a 0 division error. So division by 0 is not allowed. Okay. So there is nothing wrong in writing 1 by 0 as far as syntax is concerned. Okay. But this division by 0 is not allowed. So this is the exceptions. So that the error message is quite clear. We are trying to divide by 0 and the interpreter is rightly objecting to it. This is called 0 division error. But in terms of syntax, there are no error here. So in terms of syntax, there is no error. But since we cannot divide by any number by 0, so that's why it is 0 division error. Such errors that are detected by the interpreter during the program execution are called exception. Okay. So when in this particular line is going to be executed by this interpreter, during the execution, it will comes to know that, yeah, this is the zero, and there is something which is going to be divided by 0, and it is not to be allowed. Thus, because of that, it returns 0 division error. Different types of exception error. So there are different types of exception error. So first is the, you see, type error. The first exception error is type error. You see here, observe the following code. I have written 2 plus 2. Okay. So here, see, this is a type error. What it's saying, can only concatenate string to string. So only string can be added to string, right? Here we are trying to add a string to a number, so it doesn't make any sense. Okay. So it will throw a type error. Okay, because a string can be only added to a string, not to a number. So the interpreter throws a type error over here. The message accompanying there is more suggestive. An integer and a string cannot be added. For the plus operator, int and string cannot be the type of two operands. Okay, it has to be same, int. So if you add 2 plus 2, it will okay. So if you add 2 plus 2, then there will be no error. Or if you add a, this is a string, plus a, this is a string, then also there's not an error. But here we are trying to add a string to a number. That is a type error. That is not allowed. Next is name error. Here you see this code. I have tried to print no problem with this line and print y. So first print statement is executed, no problem with this line. So here I have printing a string, no problem with this line. So this is executed as such. But when you try to run this second one, print y, but y is not defined, right? We haven't used y in our code. So that's why this name error is coming. Like name y is not defined. We have not defined y anywhere. Okay. If you initially define y is equal to 2 or something and then try to run it, it will not show an error. But here, first you have to define it, right? You have not defined the y and you're using it. Just because of that, it is showing an error over here. This is what is called as a name error, when something you have not defined and you are trying to executing that. So the interpreter starts executing the code from top to bottom. So it will execute from top to bottom. The first line is error free. So this is error free, it prints that. Okay, since it is an error free first line, it is going to print that. It is the second line which has a problem. So here we have a problem. So when it comes to here, then only it is going to show the error. That's why name error occurs when we try to reference a variable that has not been defined before. So when this interpreter comes to the second line, it will show the name error. There is no issue with the first line. Okay. Okay. Next, let us study something about string. So we have already discussed like what is a string. So a string is any sequence of character enclosed within single or double quotes. So if you are going to enclose anything within a single quote or double quotes, everything will be considered as a string only. Okay, whether it is a number, whether it is no matter whatever it is. It is a sequence, any sequence of character that is enclosed with single quotes. The moment you have going to be enclosed the things within a single quote, it will consider everything as a string only. Okay, so it can be represented, so you can use either the single quote or the double quote. Python also supports triple quotes, specifically that we have already learned in when we are learning about comments, how to write comments. So Python also support this multi-line string. So that for that you have to enclose it in triple quotes. Okay, when you want to extend this comment over multiple lines. Okay, now let's see. Suppose we want to print this line in one string. We want to print this line in one string. How we are going to do that? Printing using single quote will throw an error. Of course, it is going to show an error. So you see here. So you have written X, 1, 2, 3, then you have everything you have enclosed in single quotes. But when you print it, it is going to show, you see here, end of line while scanning, literal, syntax error is showing. So how you can do that? So this is where the triple quotes come into picture. So here you see, for X is equal to triple quotes, you have enclosed everything inside the triple quotes. And now you can print it. No error is coming. It prints 1, 2, 3. Right? This is where when you want to print multiple lines. Okay. So there, this role of triple quotes come into picture. Okay. As of now, we have seen what is a string. Now, what is length of a string? The length of a string is nothing but the number of characters in it. Okay. So if I write ASHISH. So how many characters are there? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6 is nothing but the length of that string. If you're going to encode, yeah, correct. So you are going to encode in a single quote or double quote. So the length of a string is the number of characters in it. And every time we can't do like this, count like this. So Python have a built-in function called len, L-E-N, to find the length of a string. Okay. So let's see how you can use this. So suppose we have a string called university, X is equal to university. You want to find the number of words in it, okay? So print length of X. So length of X will give you 10. If you count it, university, it has 10 characters in it. So len, len function will give you the length of the string. So, and remember one thing, Python doesn't have a separate data type for characters, okay? So Python doesn't have a separate data type for character as we have in C, I think. A character in Python is represented by a string of length 1. So if you want to represent single character in Python, it is nothing but a string of length 1. Okay, it doesn't have a separate data types for character. See here, X I have written. So here in this string, there is only one character, right? So when you print length of X, it will return 1 because only we have one character over here. One can also define empty string. So we can define empty string also like this. And when you print length of X, since we don't have any character inside it, it will print the 0. Length of empty string is 0. Now let us see what are the different types of operations that we perform on the strings. Okay. First is the concatenation. Concatenation is nothing but just addition of two strings side by side. So we can concatenate two string using the plus operator. So using the plus operator, you can just concatenate the two string. So concatenation is just a fancy name for joining two string together. For example, you see here in the first string, I have given Virat. In the second string, I have stored Kohli as a string. Now I want to add these two. So z is equal to x plus y. I have added these two string x plus y. And when you print J, it will comes Virat Kohli. Okay. So it simply added the two string together side by side. Next is the replication. When you want to replicate the string. So one can make multiple copies of a string. So one can make multiple copies of a string and string them all together using the this star operator. Okay. So suppose you have something like ABC. So let us see example over here. So we have a string x is equal to ABC and we want to make 5 copies of it. So you see y is equal to 5 into x. Print y. So this operator will make the 5 copies of this ABC and is concatenated together. ABC, 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 C 5 times. It is come over here. So if you want to replicate something, you can do like that. Or you have to write 5 times ABC, 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 and you have to add it. So rather than doing those things, we can simply make use of this star operator in order to replicate the string. Comparison. We can compare the two strings. So one can compare the two strings. Let's start with this equal to operator. two strings are equal if and only if both of them represent exactly the same sequence of character. So two strings are equal if and only if both of them represent exactly the same sequence of character. It should not have only the same character, but it should have the same sequence of character. Then only it's going to be, two strings are going to be equal. Okay, so let's understand with the help of an example over here. So here you see I have written first string, I have stored this Sachin, Sachin. Why? The same character I have used, but I have shuffled the order over here. And in jet, again, I have stored the same as in the first one. Now, if you print x is equal to y, it will come to false because the sequence of character is not the same in x and y. But if you compare x and z, so here you see the same sequence of character is there in x and z. So it is going to be written true. Okay. So two strings are equal if and only if both of them represent exactly the same sequence of character. Now observe the following code. In the x, I have stored this string Virat, and in y, I have stored this string Sehwag. When I print x is greater than y, it is coming to be true. Think why it is coming like that. You might be thinking the length, but length is not is what is compared over here. So here we have 5 character, here we have 6. 5 is greater than 6. That should become false. So of course, length is not the way in which it is going to be compared, right? You see here, x is equal to ABC, y is P. X is greater than y. Again, it is going to be false. But here it is 3, it is here, it is 1. Length is 3, length is 1. 3 is greater than 1, but it is coming false. So of course, from these two, we know that length is not what is going to be get compared over here. So it is clear from these two examples that the length of the string is not a metric used by a Python to compare strings. Like instead, Python uses lexicographic ordering. Okay. So in order to compare the two strings, Python uses lexicographic ordering. So what is this lexicographic ordering? Let's see here. The first in this, what in both of this, what is being done is the first character from both two strings are compared. So here V is compared with S. If they differ, so if they are differ, this determines the outcome of the comparison. So again, so here V and S, since it is a different one, so from here only we can define the outcome, right? But what if they're going to be equal? If they are equal, then the second character of both the strings will be compared. So if the first string is going to be equal, then the second is going to be compared. If the second is also equal, then we are going to be switch to the third one. Okay. And this process continues until either string is exhausted. Okay. So lexicographical ordering of the string uses the Unicode. Okay, but how V can be compared from S? So here in this first, how we can compare V with S? Why it is giving true? Okay, so I have told you the lexicographic ordering means it is going to compare the first string. If they differ, then the result will be out. Otherwise, it will going to compare the second character in the string. But how we can compare V and S, right? So lexicographic ordering for a string uses this Unicode code point number in order to order individual characters. So for the individual characters, we have a Unicode, and that value is compared. That code is compared, and the final result is given. Now, if you want to see how what is the value of each character, Unicode number of each character, so you can do that very easily. So here you see, Python provides a built-in function called odd that returns the code point of any given character. So for example, if you see here, Unicode point of small b is 98, C is 99, and D is 100. Okay. So if you compare B and C, okay. So suppose you have two string, one is B and one is C, and you are saying B is greater than, okay, just give me a second. Okay. So suppose you have two string A is equal to B, and there is a, this is a variable A, and we have a next variable C is equal to C, let us say we have this. Okay. And you are saying A is greater than C. A is greater than C. So you are going to compare, you see B. For B, the Unicode number is 98. For C, it is 99. So if you write A is greater than C, so it means you are writing something like 98 is greater than 99, and which is false. This is the way how these strings are compared. Okay. So you see, there is a different Unicode. For the small letter C, we have different Unicode. For capital letter C, we have different Unicode. Okay. So you can see capital letter is having a smaller Unicode number as compared to the small c. This is the way how this string is compared. Okay, so here you can see print C, this string and this string you have to compare. So you have to check the Unicode value of C, which is nothing but 99. So this is 99. Okay, and this is B. B is nothing but the Unicode value is 98. So 98 is greater, 99 is greater than 98. So true. So this is returning true. For any character, if you want to see its Unicode, you can just write odd and bracket. You can just give that string. It will give you, return you the Unicode number. So now we can clearly see that why C dash is greater than B dash returns true. This is because the code point for C dash and B dash are 99 and 98 respectively. And as 98 is less than 99, B dash is less than C, and hence it is returns true. Okay. Next important thing is escape character.